Good morning, everybody, and thank you very much for joining us today. I appreciate, and we all appreciate you taking some time to come and spend with us today. And thank you to all the people on social media as well who gave us the impetus and the inspiration to put together today's webinar. So my name is Andy Shepherd. I'm the Sales Director for Triangle Information Management. Just a couple of things before we begin. We will be recording today's session, so if you do need to drop off at any point, we'll be sending you on the link so you can have a look back at the webinar. And also there's a chat box as well, which feel free to put any questions in that you may have, and we will get round to those at the end and get through as many of those as we possibly can. So once again, thank you very much for joining us today. It's great to have you with us, and I'm really excited about delivering you the content today. And the agenda was largely fashioned out of people asking us to put together something around next generation analytics. So we've split the webinar up into three sections. There's myself. I'm going to be talking for around about 10 minutes around the success and how we consult with our clients to help them deliver successful BI projects, and how we think that a lot of those ideas readily apply to big data and big data projects. We're then going to move on to Dave Spearman, who's one of our pre-sales consultants. Fortunately, Vodafone has kindly agreed for us to work with some of their data today. So we're going to be showing you how we work with that, how we address the questions that they've put to us. And then finally, I'm delighted to say we've got Chris Snow with us from IBM, who will be taking us through some of the cloud data services that IBM have. And again, while we're really excited to be working with them and partnering with IBM. So to begin with, from my point of view, there's no doubt that we're in a really exciting time when it comes to big data and analytics. In fact, it certainly feels like, to me anyway, that every day there seems to be something new in the marketplace, whether that comes from IBM or another vendor. In fact, it feels like their portfolio seems to swell every single day. And as a business, Triangle have been in the data space for many years, since 2007. So part of our journey when thinking about some of these technologies has really been around platform selection. Which platform out there suits us best as an organization and fits in with our ethos as a business. And our ethos is very much centered around putting people in control of software and not software in control of people. And when we come on to the technology section of our webinar today, hopefully you'll be able to see that some of the ideas and concepts are actually much easier to work with than perhaps you may think. So, we've been on that journey asking ourselves which of the platforms we want to work with, but more importantly, what also are those platforms that we can recommend to our existing clients and new clients that help them go on the next step of their journey. And we're having some really interesting conversations with a lot of our clients and their thinking as to how they can use big data and big data concepts. So what we're going to be looking at next is really looking at what are the success criteria, what are the success keys to success that we've identified over the years and years that we've been working in BI, and how do we think that they apply to big data. And in our experience, what a lot of organizations do is they tend to put a lot of time and energy into focusing on the technology or the platform, and particularly with BI and BI tools. And what we tend to see a lot of RFIs, a lot of RFPs coming out. There's normally pages and pages of functionality and features. And by and large, a lot of BI tools do a similar job. So it's very hard for people sometimes to decide which one to go with. And what's interesting is that more and more of the market is becoming open source as well. So you can source a lot of technology from multiple vendors, and they're effectively the same thing. But the mistake that a lot of organizations make is that they put so much time and energy into the platform selection that they actually forget to address the things that are underneath the surface. And in our experience, it's often the 70% of challenges that we face are not technology challenges, they're actually people challenges. So this slide is designed to illustrate the point that I've just made, which is that 90% of organizations, when it comes to the selection of technology and tools in particular, focus on the thing that's above the surface, particularly when it comes to BI. But what people don't talk about, and what people need, also need to focus on, is those things underneath the water. So I'm going to talk through some of those before we get into the technology piece. So vision. Without question, the most successful projects that we've worked on have had a clear sense of focus and vision and why they're doing the project in the first place. And probably the best example I can give you of that was an NHS trust that we've worked with fairly recently, who delivered a really robust BI project, and the director at the time was telling me that he was trying to explain to the CEO what the project was about and the benefit that it was delivering, but yet the CEO couldn't get the answer to one fundamental question, which was, that's great, but what does it do for the patient? And without being able to articulate that, and without being able to connect the project to that overall vision and outcome, which is around improving the patient experience, it was very, very hard to continue to get that buy-in. So by having a clear vision, the project is far more likely to get the senior leadership bought into what it's trying to achieve, and therefore is more likely to receive further investment. Data. Anyone that's worked with data, whether it's in BI or some other form, will tell you that the quality and the availability of the data is an area that people overlook. And it's an area that can be a real gotcha. Because even with the best intentions in the world, if you haven't got the quality of the data right, or if you haven't got the availability of the data, you won't be able to understand the question or answer the question that you're trying to address in the first place. And without doubt, focusing on what's involved in the acquisition of, the cleaning of, and the management of data moving forward is a key area that we encourage people to look at, research, and really understand what's involved in that whole process, because it's not, invariably it's not simple. Communication. Preparing for and communicating change in relation to BI or a big data is fundamental to how the users will receive the project. If your big data project is going to rely on end users participating, sharing, being part of that overall objective, then it is important that the communication plan is put together. And unfortunately, we see too many times organizations that either want to put a new tool in or want to relaunch an existing project don't have a communication plan. They don't think about who do we need to communicate with, how often do we need to communicate, what are we going to tell them when we communicate. So part of that success criteria is from a senior leadership point of view, is understanding that process, but also from a project delivery point of view, really understanding what the rules are around communication. Theme team. How skilled are we to deliver the next generation of analytics? A great book that I read recently was Bernard Marr's Big Data in Practice, and in here he talks around how Walmart run competitions to effectively filter through the best brains in the business, and they use them to then meet the challenges that they have around big data and analytics. Now, not all of us have got the resources all the time to run competitions to select the best brains in the business. However, it is a perfectly valid question to ask. How are we going to resource this? Do we have the skills internally to do it? Do we really need data scientists? And if so, how are we going to recruit them? And if you don't have that, then clearly there's an opportunity to perhaps retrain internal people or possibly work with a partner, someone who's already got those skills that you can bring on a short to medium term basis that can help you get your big data project off to the start that you need it to. Theme technology, so we're going to be moving a little bit more into this in the short term or in the next part of this webinar. And today for us, it wasn't really about going through the dozens and dozens of different platforms. Actually, today was about us saying, look, do you know what? Actually working with external data, working with external data and platforms is much easier than you think it is. And actually the barrier to entry to do this type of analysis and working with external data is much, much lower than what you think it is. And Dave's going to hopefully touch on some of that and also Chris as well. And then finally, action. So for us, this is the final measurable of a successful data project. And simply what we're talking about here is, it's great that we go and get a bunch of data, and I'll say Twitter because that's what we're going to use today. But if you then get that data, clean it up, analyze it, and then give it to the end user to go and action, if they don't action or take action as a part of that insight, then actually your project hasn't met the expectations that you want it to meet, and therefore being able to fulfill the vision that the organization is looking to achieve never completes. That circle doesn't complete. So probably a simple analogy is, if you give the doctor the information that the epidemic is coming, but he doesn't administer the vaccine, then unfortunately the whole thing hasn't really worked out the way you wanted it to. So that's all I wanted to say on success, and hopefully I've given you some ideas, some themes that you might want to think about wherever you are in your journey. So on that note, I'm now going to hand over to Dave, who's going to give us a demonstration on IBM dashDB. So.
Hello to everybody out there. I just want to start off with some background, and I'll take you through a demo that I've prepared for you today. Here at Triangle, we have been working with big data and are looking to see how it will benefit our customers. As an example, we have been asked by Vodafone to answer a question: where would they like to utilize the power of external data? The tools that we have selected are IBM Bluemix dashDB, which is one of many apps and services available in the IBM Cloud Development Suite, and IBM Cognos BI reporting, which can be provisioned in the cloud or on-premise. Note, these tools can be used across all industries, and IBM Cognos BI is a well-established reporting tool. So what is dashDB? It is a database that runs in the cloud, basically a database as a service. And even though there are many database engines available within Bluemix, dashDB stands out as it has built-in performance optimization, which makes it ideal for hosting a data warehouse in the cloud. Data can be loaded into dashDB in the cloud using a wide selection of ETL tools such as IBM DataStage and IBM Bluemix DataWorks. There are also tools available from within dashDB where you can download and manage your dashDB instance, such as IBM Data Studio and Agility Workbench. So moving on with the demo, hopefully on the screen you'll be seeing the home page for dashDB. And as Andy said, we're going to be focusing on loading from the big data. So take a look at the Load Hub. So on the screen here we can see we can pull data up from your desktop. We can bring data in from other cloud services such as Amazon AWS. We can bring in geospatial data, and we can bring in any sort of open data such as government data that's available on the internet and bring that into the cloud, and then merge this data with our existing online ERP data and build more sophisticated reports that will benefit the customer in lots more ways than we can do today. As Andy says, today we're going to focus on Twitter. So let's move to the load Twitter page. So we have a very simple out-of-the-box solution here, 5 steps to bring data in. First step will be we just create a connection. Moving on, we then have the search box. This search box, there's a lot of syntax that we can put in here, such as using, we can put a Twitter handle, a hashtag, we can put just a group of words or single words, a whole range of things, including a date range to focus on a particular area of Twitter data. So let's go ahead and give this a whirl. We'll try something out here with Vodafone. And actually, I'm going to spell it wrong on reason. That some people that have tweeted about Vodafone have actually misspelt the word itself, the name. And during this analysis and preparation for the demo, we've found these, and it's actually a good way of starting off the demonstration. And we have, of course, loaded the correct spelling, and we'll be showing that data later on. So we've identified over 4,000 tweets, even with the incorrect spelling of Vodafone. So we can now move on to next and move this data into our dashDB instance from Twitter. So we can now select a database prefix for the given tables, which I'll discuss in a moment. I'm also going to put this into Vodafone 1. So as you notice down the bottom, it's now prefixed the set tables that this utility will create for us. And while this is loading, let me just take you through what you're seeing on the screen here. Of these 7 tables, the first table is the key table with all the fact information in this case Vodafone 1 tweets. This has got the details of the person that tweeted, the key information, which is the body of the tweet, their profile information, location information, and then from that, this tool then will also pull out of the body of that the hashtags that it finds and puts them into the second table. Likewise, it will also pull out any URL links it finds embedded and puts them in this table. All the users, because often you find in the body of a tweet not just the person that's tweeting, but other people that they're referring to, so that is also pulled out. Any media, such as pictures or videos. Location information, which also relates back to the geospatial, so we can, if it's available, you can see actually where they were when we tweeted it. And also that you get out of the box is some sentiment analysis. So moving on to the next stage, and hopefully you'll see very quickly from just putting one word into the search box, we've pulled back some data and we've got a simple report that's telling us about what we've just received and downloaded. So we can see a timeline of tweets when they were entered into Twitter, how many authors and followers, the location, if of course that information has been filled in their profile, we can see sort of where these people are based, what hashtags have been referenced in the tweet body, and down the bottom, as I said, as an extra out of the box is some sentiment analysis where it examines the words within the body of the tweets and assigns whether they believe to be positive or negative. So this is a very simple process, 5 steps to bring data into dashDB, and then post this, then we can then do some more advanced reporting. And using this, we're going to bring in Cognos, where we've built a metadata model to map all of these 7 tables, and then we can show the benefit here of using a more advanced tool where we can then show this information in a sort of a deeper dive. So we can see here the sentiments, the gender information, how many tweets we've got, and here we can see at the top where we've got the incorrect spelling and the correct spelling of Vodafone, and you can see here we've got approaching 500,000 tweets. We can see a geographical breakdown on the right hand side, and then scrolling down this report we can see more details as to the timeline when the tweets came in, and you can see spikes which then would lead to further analysis. We can then break down the, please excuse me while I'll just log back in so it's timed out. So this is just a report deep dive of the tweets on a given day, so we can show the information as to who tweeted, their profile picture, we can see here the body. We can also take this and show more information about, and the particular question from Vodafone is, where are the people having network and coverage problems? So here's a simple report where we can highlight, and if I sort of drill in a bit, you can see more clearly where the signal was very poor in Oxford, and so that actually starts to answer their question, where are our customers having problems with their service? And then we can take this even further on to more advanced new version 11 reporting, as you can see here with tag cloud reporting, where we can show this even more advanced. But working with the client, we can then obviously adapt these to their more tailored requirements. But dropping back into Dash, we can also see that there are other tools available where we can do other analysis using tools R. So these tools come out of the box with dashDB. We can even then drop into and run SQL. So just to give you a quick online demonstration of running a SQL script against this data. And mention about the tools, we can show where we can download other tools to help manage this information I mentioned. And I think that covers the demonstration. Back to you, Andy, and handing over to Chris.
Brilliant, thanks, Dave. That was really good. So that's great. So on that note, we're now going to move on to our guest speaker, Chris Snow from IBM. I'll let Chris introduce himself, and then he's got a couple of slides he's going to share with us.
Fantastic. Okay, well, thanks very much to Triangle for inviting me here today, and thanks for everyone joining this webinar. So my name's Chris Snow. I'm an architect with IBM's Cloud Data Services, and I've got a few slides that I'm going to run through fairly quickly. I've covered quite a lot of material. I want to start off with just giving you some of the benefits of Cloud Data Services, why you want to have your data in the cloud, and then I want to touch lightly on the different services that are listed on this slide. So I want to give you just a bit of a flavour for the types of things that these services do and why you'd want to use them. So let's start off with the benefits and with the why question. So, why take this journey? Why put your data in the cloud? And there's three main reasons that you want to do this. The first one is faster innovation. So what this means is that you can focus on creating new applications, you can focus on new features, you can focus on gaining insight from your data and putting your data to work. As we just seen from Dave's presentation, he's used an instance of dashDB in the cloud. It was very easy for him to then start loading that data and adding value. That's the key thing here, adding value to that data without having to stand up hardware or software or resources to be able to do this work. So the next major area is the better IT economics. So with Cloud Data Services, you can you work on a pay-as-you-grow basis. So you can avoid the usual big upfront capital costs, which you have to shell out for database software and hardware, and also resources for managing those environments. And then finally, we've got another benefit is the lower risk of failure. So with our fully managed services, our services are operated by the engineers that develop the software, and these experts, they keep your data layer growing smoothly, and they make sure it's secure and always on. Okay, so that kind of covers the high level benefits of Cloud Data Services. Before we go into the actual services, let's just take a look at different ways that services can be deployed. So we've got 4 different approaches here. On the left-hand side, we've got the traditional approach to data services, where you deploy your software or hardware on-premise, through to cloud data services, where we manage the service for you. So I'll just spend a bit of time on each of these boxes to kind of give you a flavour of where the benefits lie. So on the left-hand side, we've got software. So this is where you acquire the software. You need to acquire hardware to run the software. You need to acquire resources to manage that software. What this does give you is it gives you complete control over your environment. But the trade-off here is that you've got the complexity. You have to manage all that complexity yourself. And this is generally complexity you have to deal with before you can start adding value to your data. The next area then is an appliance. So with an appliance, you have the hardware and software wrapped up into a black box, which makes it easier to deploy in your environment. And with the appliance, it's easier to get up and running, but you lose some control. So again, you've got that trade-off between control and simplicity. The next major area is with cloud data services, so a cloud image. This is also known as a hosted environment rather than a managed environment. And with a hosted environment, IBM provides the hardware or the virtual machine to run the software, for example, DB2. We deploy the initial version of DB2, but then you as the customer, you have full control over managing and running that software. So you've got more control, but again, you've got more complexity because you're having to do more of that work. And then on the right-hand side, we have managed services. And these are services where IBM fully manages the service for you. So we manage the hardware or VM, we manage the software, and we make sure that that's always on and running for you. So as an example that Dave just gave with dashDB, that was a fully managed service, allowing Dave to just focus on the things he wanted to do. So next we'll look at a kind of categorization of how do you choose a cloud data service? And there's a lot of choice, and this slide kind of breaks it down into some of the different areas you might want to consider. So we look at analytical and transactional workloads. So analytical workloads are kind of as basically just that. It's where you have data and you want to do some kind of analysis on that data. So that could be ad hoc type analysis, or it could be kind of back-end type processes where you regularly run some kind of process on your data to mine information out of it. On the right-hand side, we have the transactional type of workloads. So these workloads are typically where you're serving data to web applications or systems of record for example, ERP or CRM type systems. And these types of systems are optimized more for being able to write your data quickly and make sure that data, once it's persisted, is secure and safe. We then also got the categorization between structured and unstructured data. So structured data is probably, one way of looking at it is where, as a business user, you might have a table within a spreadsheet. That table's got a number of different columns representing different things, and that table has a structure to it. And this compares quite nicely to what you have in a SQL database table. You have your predefined structure with your rows and your columns. On the other hand, with unstructured data, you don't necessarily know the structure of that data up front. You don't really know whether what the columns are going to be. It could be data that you've mined off the web, for example, for social media analytics. You don't know that structure up front. It could be images, it could be video files. And then we've got environments, for example, big insights on cloud that are optimized for managing that type of data. So that's a kind of broad categorization of different workloads and some way for choosing between which type of service you need. We've also then got, in the middle, we've got integration type services. So we've got DataWorks and DataStage, which help you to move your data around. I will talk a bit more about these and how you choose which one is right for you. And then we've also got services like Watson Analytics, which is a self-service environment where you can do more predictive type analytics on your data without having to involve, for example, IT to set up environments for you. So, Cloudant. Cloudant is a system of engagement. So it's where, for example, we want to host data that web or mobile applications need to be able to access the data for reading and writing that data. Sorry, my slides are flipping there. Cloudant is massively elastic, scalable. It has high availability with geolocation services. So these are the typical environments where you've got lots of mobile users, lots of web users, and you need to be able to scale your data storage to cope with those demands. Cloudant is also built on web technologies, so it uses what's called JSON and HTTP APIs, which make it very easy for web developers to interact with that data. Next, we have dashDB, dashDB Analytics Warehouse as a Service, and this allows you to deploy large-scale data warehouses in the cloud, and it gives you flexible options for volumes and processing speed. It provides you with a unified architecture, so you can have hybrid data processing between on-premise and cloud, and it also has built-in analytic capabilities. So when you want to analyze data in dashDB, you don't have to move it to another environment. You can do the analytics right within the database engine, which gives you much better performance. We've also seen from Dave's presentation, it's got a very simple load and go type approach, where you can simply get data into dashDB and then you're ready to start doing your analysis on that data. So, and it's a safe and secure environment. We've got encryption for the data at rest and secure connectivity, plus role-based authentication and sensitive data reporting. We've also got a newish offering, dashDB Transactional. So this is kind of a brother to dashDB Warehouse. This is aimed at transactional workloads. So it allows you to rapidly deploy transactional databases. Again, it allows you to have hybrid solutions where you can work with data both on-premise and on cloud, and it gives you a safe and secure environment for managing your data. Next, we have DB2 on cloud. I'm not going to go through all the bullet points here, but the key thing I want you to take away from this slide is that DB2 on cloud is a hosted service. So we provide the hardware and the software, but after we've deployed it, we give you the keys, and then you as a customer, you run that environment. And this is typically used by people that have a big investment in DB2. They want to keep on using DB2, but they want IBM to manage the hardware for them. And this next slide just gives you a kind of summary of those options we just talked about. So we have hosted, which is DB2 on cloud, database as a service for transactional. We have Cloudant and dashDB, and then a data warehouse as a service. We have dashDB Analytical. We also have some more developer-focused services through a recent acquisition of IBM's called Compose. And out of the box, this gives you a number of different database services that you can build into your applications. I'm not going to go into more detail on this now. If you want to kind of go into detail on this or any of the other slides, then please contact Triangle. We can arrange a follow-up session and go into much more detail. Next, we have Big Insights for Apache Hadoop. So Big Insights is kind of the workhorse for analytical workloads for unstructured data. You can start off, we have an open platform, which is our kind of basic offering. And on top of that, you can have different options. So we have things like Big SQL, Big Sheets, Big R, which are more capabilities that allow you to much more easily work with your data inside Hadoop. And on the left-hand side, you can see there's also 3 different deployment options which you can choose when you want to deploy big insights. The next kind of key area is Apache Spark, and we have a service, IBM Analytics for Apache Spark. IBM put a lot of investment into Spark. We're seeing it as the analytics operating system of the future. It's available on Bluemix. It's a fully managed cloud-based environment, and it allows you to do, in many cases, lots of the processing you would do in Hadoop without having to have the Hadoop environment. So it gives you a lot of flexibility to get up and running quickly. DataWorks we touched upon on the one of the earlier slides. So DataWorks is a managed tool for you to move data around between different environments. So say, for example, you have data in dashDB or Cloud or Oracle somewhere on the cloud, or I think there's quite a number of different adapters for DataWorks. And as an analyst or developer or data engineer, you want to be able to pull that data into one place. You want to maybe be able to merge that data to where you can do some analysis on it. So DataWorks is a tool which gives you a nice user interface for being able to manage your data and pull it into an environment for working with it. So the next slide looks at DataStage on cloud. So DataWorks is aimed at your kind of business user, whereas DataStage is more for your developer. So where you need more kind of serious data integration, for example, back-end type processes, where you're constantly pulling data from your transactional systems, where you need to maybe move data in batch processes, then DataStage is the tool that you'll look at for doing that. And DataStage on cloud is a hosted service. So again, we provision the hardware and the software, but after that we give you the keys to kind of manage the environments. And finally, we have Watson Analytics. So Watson Analytics brings together a number of different technologies for self-service analytics in the cloud. It's aimed at business users where you can access your data. So you can easily access data within the cloud, within the Bluemix cloud, or within other environments you have exposed publicly. And you can pull data into the tool, and you can start doing reporting, dashboarding, and also we have predictive capabilities built in to allow you to unlock insight from the data. And this is kind of given tooling to business type users where they can do their data discovery. And when they find some facts they would like to drill down on, then typically they would then work with the data scientists to kind of then take that exploration further and find out what these real meanings are. And that's it for me. So thank you very much for listening. Again, if you do have any questions where you'd like to do a deep dive on any of these technologies, and if you contact Triangle, we can get that arranged. So thank you very much.
That's brilliant. Thank you very much, Chris. Appreciate that. So we've come to the end of the webinar today. There aren't any questions at this point, so I think all we'll do at this stage is just leave you with the best way to contact Triangle. You can find us obviously on the web, triangleinformation.com. We've also got our contact details on there as well, but it's 01256 860053. You can email us at sales@triangleinformationmanagement.com. And if you've got something from today, if you enjoyed the content, then one of the things that we're happy to do is work with clients on a one-on-one, as we've done with the Vodafone example, and maybe we can just start to look at some of your data. We can do that free of charge, and maybe start to give you an insight into how easy it is and how we can help you go on that next stage of your journey. Okay, well, look, thank you from me. I appreciate your time. It's been great to have you with us today. I hope you've enjoyed the webinar, and hopefully we'll have an opportunity to speak to you again at some point. So thank you very much, everybody, and that concludes the webinar.